Welcome to Enjoy the Journey podcast, where we interview expert entrepreneurs and thought leaders to help guide you in pursuit of financial freedom. Presented to you by Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and Sam Panetta, the Money Man, where we help service-based business owners remove cash flow bottlenecks, maximize their profits, and turn business profits into personal wealth. G'day guys, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and I'm here for another episode of the Enjoy the Journey podcast. And I'm very excited for this episode with a new friend of mine, Tim Hyde from Win More Clients. Now, Tim and I were introduced through the BX network, another great contact that I've had that's already been able to get some of my clients some amazing wins when it comes to marketing. And what we're going to be talking about today is exploring some of the common tips and traps that small business owners fall into when it comes to marketing in their business. And we're going to share some value with you guys to help you with some actionable insights that you can go and take away, put into your business, or also help you navigate the wild west that is small business marketing to make sure you're making the right decisions. So, Tim, thanks for joining us, mate. How you doing?
I love that description.
It's true, mate. It's true.
I'm going to copy that. That's awesome. Yeah, mate, I'm doing fantastic.
Mate, awesome. So tell us a little bit about you and your business, mate.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I started my first business when I was 6, actually. It wasn't a lemonade stand, as many people might think it was. It was actually a circus. And I think I was trying to channel my favourite golden book at the time as a 6-year-old was Uncle Scrooge. And to this day, I don't actually know what Uncle Scrooge actually does. But all he was doing, he just had this huge amount of fun diving into these massive piles of money in his money pit. Right? And I thought, as a 6-year-old, I thought this looks pretty fun. And that's something that I think I've taken into business as an adult. We often make things too serious and we forget to have fun along the way. And so Uncle Scrooge is to blame for my start in entrepreneurship.
I love
Had a whole
that.
bunch of businesses as a young man. Tried all sorts of different things with from door-to-door sales to wine racks to importing and selling UGG boots and stuff. And I think my ill-gotten gains at one point turned into 101-cent lollies, if you can remember back that far. And I was hooked. I was hooked in this idea that you could turn something like, it was actually interesting, right? You're actually helping people in the process by giving them something that they wanted and getting sugar
I love that.
out of it, or money out of it, or whatever it happened to be. And that was this really interesting thing. And as an adult, I did the dutiful eldest son thing and went off to university and found myself working in the public service and looking around going, this isn't fun. Why would anyone, choose to do this? And there was some absolutely great people. I'm still friends with some of them to this day, but it just didn't ignite me in the same way that this passion for business that I'd have. It was like I'd drunk the Kool-Aid. And sort of continued that journey along the way. Started my first digital business way back in 1999. This is back when digital marketing wasn't a thing. And I just saw this box, in my public service job, this box that people got started to get put in front of them in the 90s. And this was this new means of doing work. And I saw the yellow pages, rather than being a resource that people accessed off the shelf, the yellow pages was now being sort of propped under the monitor to bring up to the right ergonomic height. I thought, okay, now that we're not using this book anymore for information, we're now sort of typing it under our fingertips. Some mates and I started this website in Canberra called the Riot Act. Now, Riot Act, all sorts of different things. But for us, it was Regional Information Open Talk, ACT. So it was this open conversation about what was happening in our community. And this was something that hadn't really been done before. Grew that over 13 years from 6 readers and $600 worth of computer parts to 20 million views a year.
Wow.
Over 14 years, without ever spending a cent on advertising.
Fantastic.
Okay. And this was a really interesting journey because, along the way you get sued for what other people say until you get to the size of Facebook and they can just tie up in court forever. But I had this observation through that process that the clients that we were working with, we had eyeballs, we had lots of eyeballs. So we sold advertising. And the observation that I kept having when working with other businesses as opposed to running my own and particularly in their marketing context, they often came to me and said, yes, I'm interested in doing this thing, right? This is this new space. I don't really understand it, but I'll try it. I'll test this thing out. Was that they had no, I guess, maturity of marketing process. It was all hit and miss. Didn't really know what to create. Didn't really know what their message was. They didn't know what to do with the attention that they drew into their business, and would come back to me afterwards and say, that ad campaign didn't work, Tim. What's wrong with it? And I did IT at uni, right? And the way, if you're a coder and you're listening to this, you'll probably understand. But if you're not, writing a software program is literally just start at line 1, finish on line 50,000, and it's just a machine. And it goes along the code until it breaks, and it breaks, it stops. And the more I looked at people's marketing, was a very similar process. We start with attention, and we bounce this prospect along our marketing machine until it turns into dollars at the other end. And somewhere along the way, a byproduct of that attention is that we deliver a customer outcome.
Sure.
But where it breaks, right, our customers leak out of that process. Our opportunities leak out of that process. And for so many business owners, that I've seen over the last 20 odd years working in this space, in this marketing space, is that people are either aware of it and don't want to acknowledge it, or completely unaware of where their opportunities leak out, and then struggle at the other end going, well, why is my business not working the way I want it to? And look, as business owners, I think we've got it pretty hard, right? We don't make as much money as we should for the risk and effort we put on. We work longer hours than we should. We employ the vast bulk of people in Australia, and I'm sure the US is exactly the same. And we take these incredible risks with our livelihood and put our families through all sorts of stress. But it's almost like we're not playing with all the pieces.
It's true.
And not aware of what's wrong with what it is that we need to be doing. And I think that's I think that's driven me ever since. I think if you're going to take these risks, why don't you have all the puzzle pieces? Why don't you work with the picture and so you know what it actually looks like?
And I think that's what's often missing, mate. I think that most business owners get into business because they're good technicians, right? They're either done something for a long time and go, hey, I can do this. I can make more money if I do it for myself. Or they see an opportunity and they chase it. But what many of us overlooked is the importance of that marketing capability and that marketing acumen. Like, I remember my first proper business that I created was an e-commerce business. And I thought that I was just going to set up this e-commerce website, and all of a sudden I was just going to get this flood of traffic. I thought the Google would just send people to me. And
love the Google.
The Google was fantastic. And hey, we got some customers organically. I had absolutely no idea how they found us. But the vast majority of people, we're lost in this sea of billions and billions of other websites. Unless you've got the right marketing, which is basically your kind of your loudspeaker of yelling out and saying, hey, I'm over here, then you're never going to be able to succeed to the level that you really wanted to when you got into business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit like oxygen. Right? You can feed it. The more oxygen you get, the more capable you are as a person.
100%.
If you starve yourself of oxygen, you're not going to operate very well.
No.
And I've seen, so often people focus on all sorts of other things in their business. We focus on strategy, we focus on, HR, we focus on mindset, we focus on finances. And I get all these things are really important aspects of running a very successful business. But if our marketing does not bring us clients and we can't close them, we have no business at all.
Correct.
So more than anything else, I may not have a very efficient business if I haven't got my mindset right, if I don't understand, where my money is leaking out of my business, if I've not got really sort of good financial control of it, if I'm not a great leader for my team or any of that sort of stuff. But if I haven't got my marketing and sales machine working, I do not have a business. I've got an effective, a super effective thing that makes no money.
Yeah.
And serves no people.
That's no good for anyone, right?
Okay. And it doesn't help us. It doesn't help our family. It doesn't allow us to change the world that we want to change. however big that world is for you. It may be just you. It may be just you and your family. Right? It might be, you might have more grand vision.
Oop, got you on mute, mate.
And want to change the rest of the world. Sorry, I'm just going to put you on pause for a second.
That's all right.
We can just edit that a little bit out.
That's all right. No dramas. So, mate, let's talk about some of the common traps of small business owners. Obviously, you've worked with a lot of small businesses, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of very weird and wonderful things. So, what are the biggest pitfalls that most small business owners land themselves in when it comes to marketing?
Look, probably a couple that we'll highlight here, and there's lots. Right? I think there's lots of things that people do wrong. The first one I think is no follow-up. I hear so often people say, "I don't have enough leads." Okay, it's like it comes out of just about everybody's mouth when we start a conversation. I don't have enough leads. The problem is not enough. It's not enough leads. It's the problem is we haven't nurtured our relationships for long enough that those people are prepared to put their hand up and say, "Can you help me?" That's the thing, right? So it's pretty hard to find someone who's not connected to, 100 or 200 people on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Sure.
Now, if those are the right people we're connecting to who could buy from us, all I need to do is just have a more regular conversation with them and they'll go, "What is it you do?" I think we were just talking about it before, Jackson. I've just started coaching under 18 girls, was asked to help as a defensive coach for the local rugby team down here. And I've known the coach of that team for a couple of years. And he said, "I've seen you on LinkedIn all the time. What is it that you do?" And I said, "Well, I find and fix holes where like the customers leak out." He said, "I need that." Right? So yeah, look, I've got a lead. I've just got to nurture that relationship for long enough that he says, "I've got a problem now and I know you can fix it." We all have problems. Everyone, and everyone you're connected to, you can probably help in some way.
Sure.
Right. So, your space, Jackson, with help with financial planning, just about everybody needs that. And certainly everyone needs that in business at some point. But it may not be my biggest problem today. And certainly over the last couple of months where we've been dealing with, and the fallout of COVID impacting so many people, I've got other priorities. Right. Next year, it'll be something else. It might be, I've got to pay school fees this week. I've just had an argument with a wife. I've got to replace that key staff member. That means that is the other priority. But it doesn't mean that the thing that you solve for your customers goes away.
No.
And we've got to remember that in our business, that it's just length of relationship will ultimately mean we buy for someone too often. And I don't know whether this is a legacy of watching TV growing up where, every 15 minutes an ad comes on that yells at you to stay on the couch and buy today. But if we parallel how we build our business relationships to how we build our personal relationships, you wouldn't go up to your significant other and say, "Hey, we should have 10 kids on the first date."
No, it's a bit creepy, right?
It's a little bit creepy. Some people say yes, right? But it's pretty unusual.
It is.
But if we took time to build that relationship, absolutely. 10 kids is on the card. But our business can't survive on one marriage. Our business needs lots of relationships, and all of those relationships are at different stages, right, through that customer journey.
And I think that's key, mate. I think you're right. There's so many businesses out there. There's just more leads. And they're just putting these front end offers out there that it's like, "Hey, buy my stuff. Are you going to buy my stuff?" Yeah. And the reality is there's only a very small component of the market who's ready to buy your stuff now. And further to that trusts you enough to buy your stuff, even though they might need it.
Well, we all talk about this no like and trust thing, right? It's like a three-legged stool in many ways.
Sure.
If I like you and know you, awesome, you're fantastic company in the pub.
Sure.
Okay, but I'm never going to buy from you.
No,
I'm never going to get you to sort of drive me home when I'm drunk, or sort of get you to look after my kids. If I don't know you and you're trustworthy and likable, but I don't know you, I can never buy from you. Right? So our marketing activity just hasn't done enough to build that awareness. And if I've only got one of those things, obviously nothing's happening. But if I trust you and know you, but don't like you, guess what? Right? I'm going to buy from somebody else. And that's why you see corporates put so much effort into creating these brand personas, right? They're giving their brand a persona, right? A personality, because we need to like that personality. They describe it in human traits.
Yeah. Because you can't build a relationship with a business, an inanimate object.
Nope.
Doesn't work that way.
No, it becomes replaceable.
Yeah.
It becomes replaceable. And unless we think about that, I think Seth Godin talks about this in Purple Cow, which is one of the first marketing books I ever read. And that was really transformational for me, is that if we're same as everybody else, we just become a race to the bottom. Now, I don't have to have a USP, right? You may have heard of that term, the unique selling proposition, that makes you completely different from everybody else. I think that's a little bit overused. But we have to be able to articulate what it is, what the value we bring to our customers is, and why we can deliver that value over someone else being able to deliver that value.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So aside from the follow-up piece, what are the other mistakes that people often make when it comes to their marketing?
Just not committing enough to it. All right? I want you to all, if you're listening to this right now, just picture what goes on when a rocket launches into space. Okay. Huge amount of energy, lots of flame, lots of smoke everywhere. The first 5 meters nothing seems to happen other than lots of shaking and so on. But once that rocket's out into space, it just needs a little bit of air pressure, right, to change direction. And I think, and this is the thing I think small businesses do a lot of. And yes, we're dealing with scarce resources, both money and time.
Sure.
We don't value our time enough. But we've got to commit enough resources in the one space for long enough that it actually creates that impact.
Makes sense.
Okay. So going back to Raf earlier and saying, I've seen you on LinkedIn all the time. I haven't posted on LinkedIn for weeks, but I've done enough to now get into sort of marketing orbit that just those little bits of adjustment suddenly mean I'm now visible.
Yeah.
But, to get there, I actually had to commit quite a lot. And we don't do that enough. We don't commit enough resources in our marketing to be seen enough, right? So I see, these little bursts on Facebook. You might put 10 posts up for a month, and the next month you put 2, and the next month you do nothing, and 3 months go by and you do nothing. And then you suddenly go, forgot about Facebook. Let's put 5 posts on, then suddenly wonder why your Facebook strategy is not working.
Exactly.
Because not only are you not appearing in someone's news feed regularly enough for them to see and recognize your expertise and know, like, and trust you, but you're also telling your potential customer that you're inconsistent. No one buys inconsistent.
It's not what they want.
It's not what they want. That's why we buy McDonald's. Because I know they're anywhere in the world and I know what I'm going to get.
It's going to be the same. Yeah.
It's going to be the same.
I think it's this, most people treat marketing as if it's a tactic, right? They're just deploying it for a period of time, expecting that they're going to chuck it out there and it's going to work immediately.
Yeah.
And in my experience, very few marketing campaigns just work like that, right? It's that constant testing and iteration, because it's a science at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think the third thing there is thinking that marketing is optional. And if you find yourself, I know, Jackson, you would have this conversation with your clients quite a lot. I still remember, year 12 business studies at school, and they talked about this business cycle of boom and bust, and you go into this roller coaster, right? You'll do lots of marketing and you'll get lots of clients, and then you'll go and deliver it, and you'll go into this slump, right? This roller coaster kind of effect. We've got to keep, and I've heard lots of clients say, can I just turn the tap on when I need it? No, look, the tap should be on full bore all the time.
Yeah.
Because then you get to pick and choose who your clients are.
Yeah.
Marketing is not an optional expense in your business. It should be on all the time, and it's a cost of doing business, right? The systems you put in there, the advertising you spend, the time you use to turn up to networking events, and it all comes at a cost to your business, but it's got to be on all the time. You can't turn it off and expect people to kind of remember where you are, right? You can't take a glass of water out of the bathtub and expect there to be a hole for you to come back to later on and put your glass of water back in. That's what the market looks like. Someone else is just going to slide into your space. So right now, when we've got all this sort of stuff going on in COVID and people going, I'm going to put my head in the sand and I'll just come back to it later. No, guess what? Someone else is taking your market share.
Mm.
And it's going to be harder for you to take that market share back because they are now commanding the attention and loyalty of your customers and your potential customers.
And people don't like change. Once they've got a trusted partner or somebody that they're committed to that's actually doing good things, they're not going to be looking for alternatives.
No, they're not. Right? Unless they really stuff it up.
Exactly. And look, talking about stuffing it up, I think a lot of small businesses have a fear of marketing consultants. They've either been burnt before in the Wild West that we alluded to at the beginning. There's a lot of cowboys out there and cowgirls too. We don't want to be sexist. That there's marketing consultants that promise the world and deliver a teacup. So what do we need to do to make sure that we're choosing the right marketing consultant that's going to actually deliver the result that you want?
Yeah, good question. There is a lot, okay? And marketing is a completely unregulated industry. Anyone can hang a shingle and do stuff. And the nature of marketing is that we're all very good at marketing ourselves. Right? So it is very, I get it. It is very difficult to kind of understand who's good and who's not as good for you. I think you've got to trust your gut in some ways, trust your instincts. A good marketer will have, don't necessarily look at just what the words they write on their website. I think the most ironic thing about marketers is we'll use the things like buzzwords like new. This is the new way. Right? Doesn't mean the old way doesn't work. It's just this is the new way. It's just a word we use, right? Because it sounds fresh and exciting, and it implies that the old way doesn't work anymore. So I think you've got to look at, look at credibility. Look at, who have you worked with in my space before? What results did you get for them? Do you have testimonials and case studies that you can point us to that demonstrate a sort of similar result for us? How long have you been doing this for? Who have you done it with before? Not everyone has, the experience that I have. I've worked with clients in 24 different countries and everything from clairvoyants to mining companies. But that's not going to work for everybody. It works for me because I can sort of bring experience and insight from different industries into your particular sector. But, in some cases, it may be better to find a specialist in your industry who can say, okay, this is the thing that I know works for this particular industry every time. Right? And they'll know that industry inside out.
Makes perfect sense.
Right? So if you're going to a marketing agency or consultant who specializes in tourism and you're running an accounting practice, you may not get the same results. In fact, you probably won't get the same results because what works in tourism doesn't necessarily work in accounting. Yeah,
very different. Okay.
Right? But I think there's some fundamentals that you should be looking out for. And that's really someone who sort of talks about a whole life cycle, because marketing just doesn't stop at the lead.
Yeah.
Marketing continues on, because that word of mouth and referral is obviously so important for so many businesses. And that's part of your marketing strategy as well.
100%. It's about how you capture those opportunities and then nurture them and ascend them and bring them back over time, which is super key. And a lot of people just treat this as if it's linear and it's transactional, right?
Yeah, but it's not. Like every business, and I would challenge people to sort of throw this at me sometime, every business has a life cycle, even funerals. Okay, I have a thing on my desktop here. It's a chicken in a tutu to remind me there's a business for everything. But even funerals has a life cycle. Okay? Not for you, but you're not. If you're dead, you're not the buyer. Someone else is the buyer.
Correct.
And that has a life cycle. Right? So just remembering that is really important. Is a really important factor of marketing.
Makes a lot of sense, mate. And look, I think there's a lot of small businesses out there that go, stuff it. It's a minefield out there. I'm just going to do it myself. And I guess Tim, in your experience, how many small business owners out there are actually doing it themselves properly when it comes to marketing?
I'd say it's a pretty small percentage. It's a pretty small percentage. I do get surprised occasionally. I did find a client recently who somehow managed to nail her Facebook ads first go, which, she's getting 22 cents per conversion on a $29 product, which is fantastic.
Wow.
But that's pretty unusual. There is an absolute wealth of information out there, and you can learn and probably should learn this skill yourself. But you've got to remember that your role as the business owner is to build a business. It's not to do the things in the business. My wife has just experienced this to some really amusing results over the last few months. That she was like, "I'm bored. I don't know what to do." And I said, "That's because your business runs without you now. This is the holy grail of business ownership. You're no longer self-employed. You've graduated. Congratulations. Here is your robe and your, and your hat and what is the hat called? Whatever it's called. And you roll up the paper that says, congratulations, you're now a business owner. It does something without you. And it does the thing it should do without you, provide you the lifestyle that you want." And I think we forget that. We forget that so much, and marketing particularly, I guess, because it's in the front end of everything, is constantly changing. And if you're not keeping up to date with it, you can fall very behind very quickly. And so, if you're going to commit the resources to become a great marketer, please do so.
Yeah.
Right? There's plenty of great resources out there, both free and paid, to become a great marketer. I think every CEO, first and foremost, should be an awesome marketer and leader second.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really important skill, because if you can bring opportunities into your business and then you can sell to them, then you can have a successful business in all times.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Most people half-ass it. And it's a certain personality type who can be a good marketer, good at both the strategy and also the execution. And I'm the first person to admit, in my business, I'm good at the marketing strategy, but I'm not an attention to details person.
Yeah.
So I can't do the execution. It is
sometimes you got to have that. Sometimes you have to have that hard conversation with yourself. I do a lot of work with marketing automation, and I'm world class. I surprise my team. They go, "How did you do that so bloody quickly?" And yet, in my business, that is not the thing that I provide the most value in doing. Right? I'm not going to be the person in my business that sits there and configures Facebook ads or, integrates system A with system B and sets up campaigns or writes copy for my emails on my website. That's not I can do it. Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
But it's not the area that I provide the most value in our business. And we have to have a really honest conversation with ourselves about what is the one or two things that A, I love doing, B, can do all day long and it doesn't seem like work to me, right? And C, drives my business forward. And if you're not doing those things in your business, give it to somebody else as quickly as you possibly can, because then you'll start making the amount of money that you want to make doing the things that don't seem like work, and suddenly your whole life will change. Right? You'll stop resenting this thing that's getting you stuck and, driving you nuts and making you pull your hair out.
Yeah. 100%.
It'll be completely different. And you know what? Even though you might be paying someone $200, $300, $400, even $500 an hour, well, you could sit there for 5 hours doing the same thing and they're going to do it in 10 minutes and they're going to get a better result from you because that's the thing that they specialize in.
Yep. I've always been a believer that you stick to what you know and you outsource everything else. It's the way you should do things in business. And there's too many small business owners that are playing a small game, have that scarcity mindset, and they're getting scarce results.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing, and it's good you raised that, because I think, because the conversation I had with another client in Darwin recently, and they're like, "Oh, we're really happy with the amount of money we're making. We don't want to sort of grow and be more stressed." Okay, this is a really interesting thing to say. What's stressing you? And they've gone, okay. In this case, it was actually following up on all their quotes. I say, well, if you don't enjoy doing it, give it to somebody else.
Outsource it. Yeah.
Okay. If you don't want to be the one organizing all the jobs, give that to somebody else. Right? Start thinking more like a business owner, not, this is my lifestyle. If you find that running a big business is stressful, guess what? You don't have to run it.
No.
You can just be the beneficiary of that.
Exactly. Look at all of the biggest publicly listed companies in the world. The shareholders don't bloody run them. So
yeah, the owners don't run the businesses. But that's an interesting. I think it's that interesting mindset shift.
it is.
Is that that I can have a thing that provides me the lifestyle I want.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be the one that actually does it.
It's crazy. Yeah, we call it the 4-step shuffle. That's how you shuffle from a technician to a manager to a leader, and then from a leader to an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And most people get stuck because it's that self-limiting belief that they when it fundamentally comes down to it, they don't think they deserve it.
Yeah.
And they feel they have to work hard to be deserving of the reward.
Well, we've all grown up, okay? We've all grown up with this idea that it's even the VB ad, isn't it? Hard days, work is hard days, yakka. Harder thirst or whatever it is. I can't remember the ad now, but we all know it.
We all know it.
Okay. And we've grown up, this self-perpetuated myth that hard work equals results. But the most successful business owners don't work hard, they work smart. And they get rid of the things that don't serve them in their business, and they automate and systemize and delegate stuff. And you can, as you said, you can delegate the delegation to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? You can delegate leadership. It's okay. Right? You don't have to, decide that let your ego get in the way and think because I started this small business means I have to run it when there's 50, 100, 200, 500 staff.
100%.
Someone else can do that. Okay. And I can still be in the business doing the things I enjoy doing, but I still don't have to be the CEO. But we do have this hook that we go, okay, because I founded this thing, I have to run it all the way, and I have to graduate to those different stages. You don't have to do that at all.
And you don't. And I think the thing that affords you the freedom and flexibility to have that choice is marketing. I think if you've got your marketing right, and then you've also got your financial funnel in order, meaning that if you pour these marketing opportunities, it actually results in profit that falls out the bottom, then it affords you the opportunity to be able to pick and choose what you do in your business. Because if you've got scarce opportunities in terms of leads and marketing, then you're going to have very limited opportunities in terms of where you take your business. And if you don't have the money in the bank to give you the freedom and flexibility around bringing the right people in, hiring the right resources, or being able to make these choices, even make yourself redundant, then you're not going to be able to have that choice either. So I think it all comes back.
Absolutely. It's a conversation I've been having with my son lately, and he's just turned 14. He managed to get a bag full of lollies the other day and started selling single, I don't know if it's a Mento or a Mentos or whatever a single one is, to his schoolmates for 50 cents each.
I love that.
Good on you for being able to do that. I think that's a bit steep, but okay. And he's making $1 squillion. We've talked to him about mowing lawns in the street. And I said, he's gone, oh, that seems like a lot of hard work. I said, but you don't need to do it. You just need to knock on the doors, get the contracts, and then say to your mate and say, hey, I'll give you $20 if you want to mow a lawn. Do you want $20? Meanwhile, you're taking $10 off the top of every single lawn they mow. And that's that entrepreneurial thinking, right, that puts us into our marketing and our leadership hat. And that's the thing that drives our business further, faster, right, than we thought possible. That's the oxygen.
Exactly.
That does it. Okay. And then we can systemize the rest. And the more systemized it is, the more likely I can, fix that machine where those customers leak out.
Yeah.
So I know they're broken there. Okay. I need to find a process or a system or a skill or a staff member or something that fixes that hole. Okay, great. What's the next one?
I love it.
Then what's the next one? Then what's the next one?
It makes perfect sense, but there's a lot of business owners out there that aren't doing it. They're starving their business of the oxygen it needs to grow and thrive. So, Tim, let's assume that we've got some people who've listened to this podcast and they've liked what you had to say. So they want to have a conversation. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you, and how can they work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So best way to get in contact, just reach out to winmoreclients.com.au/connect. There's a couple of buttons there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or just book in directly into a call. That's the first part. I'll give you a little bit of a secret. There is a retargeting pixel on that. So that if you go to that page and you don't do one of those actions, you'll start seeing my ads pop up. But again, that's an example, right? If I've got someone going to this page and they bounce away, that's a lost opportunity for me.
100%.
And it's a lost opportunity for me to really help someone make a difference in their business as well. So that's the first place to go. Look, to be honest, we'll just have a chat from there. We'll actually look at your marketing. We'll unpack what it is that you're doing, where you want to be, what's missing or broken, and then we'll see if we can fix it together. So, no obligations on that conversation. But if we can, we can fix it. Great. If we can't, that's okay too. We can point you. It's not marketing is not always the thing that you need to fix first.
Yeah. And that's the thing, mate. Really love the work that you do. I think you add a tremendous amount of value compared to a lot of the cowboys that are out there. So guys, if you're interested in having a conversation with Tim, having a chat around how you can take your marketing to the next level, please feel free to reach out. We'll have all of his details in the description below. Tim, thanks for making the time. I really appreciate the chat, mate. You've delivered some great value, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you again soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time for Enjoy the Journey podcast, and we'll speak to you soon.